So if you're wondering whatever happened to December, I didn't read a single book in December. It's true, part of the reason I didn't post a December wrap-up, besides the obvious of it's the holiday season, I was all over the place, was that I didn't read anything in December. It's honestly not that big of a deal to me. I've always said that one of my goals is to be a little more relaxed in my reading, to just read what I want to read when I want to read it. That is, of course, a goal I'm going to continue now in 2019 and kind of have been continuing. So with that, let's talk about January of 2019. I read 8 books in January, starting with The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. I wanted to read this because I actually saw the film adaptation that was done with Donald Gleason, and I thought it was pretty good. The most interesting review I saw of it actually kind of compared it a little bit to The Haunting of Hill House and how the idea is sort of making the house a character. I'd argue Haunting of Hill House does that better. But I will say the book of The Little Stranger does a slightly better job of making this estate feel like a character. But I liked it. I gave it like 3.5 stars, rounded it up to 4 because I'm nice. I finally finished Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. I gave this 4.5, 5 out of stars. This was a story I really like. It is essentially the Targaryen history, but I knew it would cover quite a bit of the War of the Green and the Blacks, or the Dance of Dragons, which is a bit of Targaryen history. I think is fabulous, and honestly, HBO, you need to pick that shit up. I understand it'll be expensive because dragons, but like, dragons? Dragons in aerial warfare? Dragons? I listened to My Life Among the Underdogs, a memoir by Tia Torres. Tia Torres is the founder and runner of the Villalobos Rescue Center, which is the largest pit bull rescue in the world, I believe. And it's certainly the largest in the United States, and the Villalobos Rescue Center is the subject of the series on Animal Planet called Pit Bulls and Parolees, which is a show I love. Really, Sirens? I love that show. It always leaves me very, very, very emotional. And when she announced on the show in one of the episodes that she had finally finished writing this book she'd been trying to write for like the better part of almost a decade, I knew I wanted to read it because she said it's pretty much about the dogs that had some of the biggest impact on her family's life. And I was like, that is a cool subject. I'm always down to read about dogs and adventures. It made me very emotional. I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars because I enjoyed the hell out of it. I read Bridge of Clay by Marcus Zusak, who is better known as the author of The Book Thief, and The Book Thief is one of my favorite books of all time. It emotionally wrecked me. It still emotionally wrecks me when I reread it, and I was very interested to see what Zusak's new book was all about, because it had been quite a long time since he'd released a book. And it is unique. It is not going to be easy for some people to read. It has a very interesting writing style and tone that feels almost stream of consciousness, and I think that does make it more difficult to read, and for me, it did sometimes make it more difficult for me to read, so I only gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think the issue is that I also didn't connect with the characters as much as I did in something like, say, The Book Thief. I listened to Stephen Fry's Victorian Secrets. This was something I'd picked up on Audible because I heard it was fun. It absolutely was. I gave it like 3.5 stars out of 5 because there were times where my brain wandered off and I missed things, but I mean, on the whole, it's a perfectly delightful little audio compilation of like fun facts and true life stories. I read The Silver Mask by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. This is the 4th book in their Magisterium series. This is the first one I did not buy that I got from my library because I'd kind of fallen off this series. I quite liked the first book. I thought it was fun. I thought the second and third books were like, okay, they're still good, but I didn't like them as much as the first. So I kind of fell off the series, but my library had the ebook, so I got it. They're really quick reads because they're middle grade, and I really liked this 4th book. It picked up significantly from the second and the third. It was so much more interesting for me on a character level, and I was just like, yes, I loved this. So I gave it like a 4.5, almost 5 out of 5 stars. I truly enjoyed this. I'm gonna have to get the final book from my library too, and I hope it doesn't let me down. I read Trail of Lightning, which is the first book in the 6th World series by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is such a fascinating concept. When I heard about this book concept, I was like, yes, I want to know about this book. Because all I was pitched was a Own Voices, First Nations, kind of urban, modern, fantasy monster hunter series. And I just went, I never knew I needed this in my life, but now I do. And look, I'm not one to speak on authenticity I did like the fact that Rebecca Bronhorst is an Own Voices author. She is First Nations, so anything she writes in there, I'm going to go, yeah, sure, I'm going to believe this. I am not going to call myself an expert on any of the First Nations tribes and their cultures. So I'm like, cool. I have no idea where any of these like monsters or the ideas come from. I'm sure there's a whole mythological basis for that that I am obviously unfamiliar with, but this story was awesome. I loved our protagonist. I loved the world. I love the fact that this is going to be a series and I get more of this. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And finally, the last book I read in January was The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, The Japanese Art of Decluttering and Organizing by Marie Kondo. Yeah. Look, I had been told to read it a billion times, and so I just finally did, because I did watch Tidying Up with Marie Kondo on Netflix, and it was like so wholesome and made me so happy that I was like, okay, fine. And it's a very good book. Like, it is. I understand it. Like, even if I'm maybe not going to implement all those methods, I certainly see the value in what Marie Kondo is preaching, and I see why it has helped so many people. But that's everything I read in January. And technically everything I read in December, because I read nothing in December of 2018. Thanks for watching me ramble today. If you'd like to see more from me, go ahead and click that button with my face on it. It'll take you to my channel, where I ramble about a whole lot of different things. Got some thoughts of your own? Go ahead and leave them down in the comments. And make sure that if you want to see more ramblings from me, you click that little subscribe button. That's it for me today, you guys, so until next time, cheers.